Elijah Johnson leads the way at the lead guard position. They're trying to get him off the snide shooting. Travis Relford, who leads the league in field goal shooting percentage, and Kevin Young does all the dirty work for this team. Joe DeRosa, Duke Edskill, KC Eli working the game. Kansas is in its throwback jerseys for celebrating the 25th year of the 1988 National Championship team. And the first possession will be the Jayhawks.
A terrific gut check win over Oklahoma State. Kansas had 44 points in the paint in the very first possession. Travis Relford with a point-blank layup.
Relford gets Kansas' first points 13 seconds into the game. It took them almost 13 minutes to score their first points in Fort Worth. TCU struggles to score. They're 345th in the nation, getting only 51 points a game in Big 12 play. Green can get creative. And they'll reset it unless Butler Lynn triggers here. One thing TCU did to Kansas in the game in Fort Worth, Reed, was win the boards. They had 30 defensive rebounds. Kansas could not get a putback.
And that's going to be a key today. Kansas leads the Big 12 in rebounding and rebounding margin. To have a chance, you've got to be able to get on the boards.
Oh, and TCU didn't turn it over much in Fort Worth.
A huge mismatch inside. I'm not sure.
You were saying?
Cannell Crossland cannot defend Jeff Withey. That is a bad matchup for TCU.
Trent Johnson, undefeated against Kansas. 14 years as a Division I head coach, 2-0 against the Jayhawks, trying to win on the road. In fact, he's trying to be competitive. All 6 of those losses were double-digit losses on the road. But he's won before, Reed. Coach of the year at Nevada. He was coach of the year at Stanford and coach of the year at LSU.
You know, it's interesting. We talked to Trent before the game, and a lot of coaches come into this environment and they want to insulate or isolate their kids from the nostalgia and the history. Not Trent Johnson. He wanted his kids to embrace it. After practice last night, they walked around the Hall of Fame. They walked around and looked at the banners. They talked about who these guys were, who the teams were. And Trent was like, I want my guys to embrace it. I want them to understand that this is royalty and this is a chance of a lifetime.
And Kansas gets a turnover with the pressure, something they couldn't do in the game in Fort Worth. Already much different than the game on February 6th. McLemore. Withey. And Kevin Young tips it to him.
What a terrific pass from Kevin Young.
Butler Lynn changed it to goal. One thing Bill Self wants to get done today, Reed, is to get Elijah Johnson going offensively. 10 for his last 42 from three-point range. And 12 assists to 13 turnovers, including that TCU loss.
You know, he's in the top 10 for the season in assist-to-turnover ratio, but in Big 12 action, it's just 1-to-1. And it's tough to win with a point guard that has a 1-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio.
And if you include the TCU loss in the last 6 games, he's upside down assist-to-turnover. There's the steal by the aforementioned Elijah Johnson. Kevin Young is everywhere.
TCU's got to feel like they walked into the middle of a hornet's nest right now. They've just got to hang on for the first time out and then try to regroup, but cannot imagine a better start for Kansas.
Kian Anderson just launches it. They're in a hornet's nest and they sprayed themselves with honey before coming in. They knew this was coming, though, after that upset victory. Kansas had 13 at the half in Fort Worth. They're sitting on 8. We have yet to play 4 minutes. Good hands by Butler Lynn. And McKinney gets fouled.
Kevin Young has played with a tremendous amount of energy in the first 3 minutes of this game. Look at the presence of mind to get that rebound, keep it up high, and find Jeff Withey. You don't find many tip assists underneath the basket and then getting out and running the floor. Tell you what, Kevin Young has been all over the place. You know what's interesting is you watch Kevin play, the very first play, his face lit up with a smile. And you think, you know what, that's a kid having fun. And guess what? It's supposed to be fun. You know, you don't need to be out there growling and pounding your chest and slitting your throat. It's supposed to be a fun game. And I enjoy very much watching Kevin Young play.
Edric McKinney is just 50% at the line for the year, but that's kind of the Horned Frogs scoring. 344th out of 347 teams in the country in foul shooting. And against Kansas in the upset win, they weren't much better. They were 22 of 38 in that game.
Well, great ball movement right now by Kansas. That ball's going side to side to side on the court.
Withey, well defended by McKinney.
Great defense.
Green needs help. Kansas wanted a 5 count. 6 to shoot. Anderson has struggled from 3 as well. Just 10 of his last 35 and 12 of his last 46.
And Mitch, that one wasn't close. It hit the front of the rim, underneath the rim.
McLemore for much of the year has led the Big 12 in three-point shooting. He slipped some to third, but Reed still 43% from 3.
Now, very efficient. Has shot over 60% 6 times and over 50% behind the three-point line 7 times in Big 12 action this year. Boy, TCU just needs the timeout. I'm not sure I wouldn't throw it off someone's foot just to get a break.
Hill actually takes it to the basket. He only gets 4 per game, a freshman from Fort Worth.
That's a lob. McKinney doing a nice job down inside on Withey, but nobody is putting a body on Kevin Young, and right now he is just killing the Horned Frogs.
Reedy at 11 rebounds Wednesday at Oklahoma State in that double overtime victory in Stillwater. He took a giant charge late in that game on LeBryant Nash.
Kevin Young has touched every single ball that has come off the rim on both ends of the court.
He is the personification of these 4 seniors. And there's an illegal screen on Withey. Well, there's a Kevin Young lookalike in the field house. Kansas had 13 points at halftime of that game in Fort Worth. They're already at 13 today, leading 13-2. Now this from Phillips 66. Today's Big 12 Network game is brought to you by Phillips 66, experts in gas since 1927. By Wendy's new right price, right size menu with big taste you can't find anywhere else. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Motel 6, the official economy lodging partner, Big 12 fans everywhere. And by Whataburger, proud to serve it hot and fresh 24 hours a day. Dr. Fogg Allen, the field house named after him here. And beware of the fog, of course, is the warning to all who enter. 13-2, Kansas here at the under 16 timeout. Now, it's interesting. On February the 6th, you look at Kevin Young. TCU at this point had 2 points. They have 2 today. They were 1 for 6 from the field. They're 1 for 6 today. 17% from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. The numbers are all the same for TCU, but it's different for Kansas. No points for Kansas at this point. They have 13 this afternoon. 0 for 2 from the field in that game. They're 6 of 11 and already with the 3. Abron with the bucket. The Arkansas transfer who's had his moments this year, Reed.
Well, that was a nice basket. Turned around, didn't panic. Used that big body. Coming out of this timeout, TCU now in a 2-3 zone.
Devontae might be the best at that crab dribble in the league. Perry Ellis, the freshman from Wichita, in the middle of the zone.
Doing an excellent job defending on the ball screens here early in this game. They're doing a hard hedge. Guy defending the screener steps way out, but they're doing a good job rotating on the back end, taking away the screener as he rolls to the basket.
Garb, Ellis, and Traylor, all non-starters in now for Kansas. KU #1 in the nation in field goal percentage defense. 4 to shoot. Anderson's got to pull deep. Relford hits the 3. Now he has been hot. That's 7 of his last 13 from bonus distance.
The last 2 games, Travis Relford averaging 17 points per game. You know, Mitch, TCU runs an initial set, and then after they get an entry pass, everything just stops. The other 4 guys just stop and look at him like one cut is going to get you a shot. And one cut and one pass is not going to get you a shot against these Kansas Jayhawks.
And if you stand and look at McLemore shoot jumpers, it's going to be a long day for TCU. 5 for McLemore early. It is 18-4 Kansas.
Ooh, that's a carry.
Anderson sets up Abron, and he gets fouled by Tharp. McLemore already getting it going, but Relford with the bucket. He and his brother have been 2 of the best players in the country this season. Kansas, again, trying to keep pace. Kansas State tied with them at 10-3. Oklahoma State has already won. They were challenged at West Virginia, but won, Reed. K-State tonight has to go to Texas and face Mike Kabongo. When Kansas went there, Kabongo was still suspended.
At Oklahoma State, they struggled early. Marcus Smart got an early foul trouble, had 3 quick fouls. They ended up and really showed their balance. Had 5 guys in double figures. Nash, Smart, Brown, Cobbins, and Brian Williams back. Maybe his best offensive game since coming back from that injury.
Isn't depth. Now, let me ask you this. Kansas already leading in second chance points 6-0. They only had 9 second chance points all night in Fort Worth in that upset loss to the Frogs. 6 rebounds for Kevin Young in 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, 6 of the 10 rebounds, and 3 of them on the offensive end. You know, here's the problem with playing Kansas. They dominate points in the paint. So you pack the paint, you take that away from them. Travis Relford knocks down a 3. Ben McLemore knocks down 2 threes. And, boy, when they can knock down shots on the perimeter, this Kansas team is very, very difficult to beat. That's what impressed me the most about the Oklahoma State win. They were just 1 for 11 from behind the 3-point line and then didn't get any field goals in the overtime but for the free throw shooting, really, of Jeff Withey down the wire.
At 44 paint points, though, in that game total. And today they've got 10 to just 2 for the Frogs. Withey had a great start early. He's getting the rest here. They haven't needed it. Leading by 13.
Kansas just doing whatever they want to do on the offensive end. They are perfectly comfortable. TCU not doing anything to put pressure on them to prevent them from swinging the ball from side to side.
Ellis gets his first bucket. They want to get him going too. His high for the season was the first game of the year. Freshman from Wichita Heights. You know, effort's not been an issue with TCU. In fact, Trent Johnson's had them playing hard all year. They're just so challenged offensively. Although Abron's got that sweet move to the left hand over the right shoulder.
We have seen him score over his left shoulder and now dropping over his right shoulder, and he looks very comfortable being a scoring option down in the paint right now.
Gives TCU hope for the future. Last year led Arkansas in rebounding, was a transfer, did not have to set out. He knocks that one to the water cooler. As the name might suggest, Phillips 66 is the proud sponsor of the Phillips 66 Big 12 Men's Basketball Championship. Both start with Phillips 66 and both stand for performance. Phillips 66, experts in gas since 1927. One of the more coveted tickets in all of college basketball. And there are some, they put out a release yesterday, there's some actually available for the Big 12 championships. They get them while they last. It's going to be a hot ticket. Now that looked like the game in Fort Worth. They pushed him off the block with
When Jeff Withey tries to play power basketball, he's just not very effective. And it's almost like he thinks he has to make power moves. You know what? I'd say, look, develop that sky hook and shoot nothing. Do everything through finesse. Don't try to go to your weakness. Play to your strength.
Young works hard, but gets no reward underneath.
His energy level in the first half has been off of the charts.
But the story for TCU has been Devontae Abron. Again, he was an immediate transfer. He did not have to set out. There was a family situation, and so they allowed him to go from Arkansas to TCU without setting out. And right now, he is carrying his team. 7 of the 9 Horned Frog points.
I mean, they're going to him every time down the floor, and he is scoring. He scored in transition. He scored on the right block. He just scored on the left block, and well, he looks really, really good starting this game. Kid coming into the game only averaging 7 points and 5 rebounds.
Out of Seagoville High School in Dallas. But on the other side, it's been Kevin Young.
You talk about playing hard. And when you play hard, how many things you make happen on the floor. There's a deflection. There's a rebound and assist. He's following in transition. His rebounding effort, he has gone after everything wherever he is on the floor. I'm telling you, that's as good a first half as you could ask for from Kevin Young.
With the exception of Elijah Johnson, all 4 of these seniors, the other 3 seniors, let's say, there was some doubt how much they would be able to contribute or if they could play here at all. Young transferred in from Loyola Marymount, but he has exceeded expectations in what he's done for this team. Shooting from 3 has also been an issue for Tharp. He has 3 for his last 21, and Anderson yet to score in this game.
Well, I'm not sure that ball wasn't blocked. Jeff Withey came behind him. I don't think he just missed that shot by 5 feet. I mean, this wasn't an air ball. He missed it by, I can't even tell you. Watch to see if Withey doesn't get a piece of that ball. No, he doesn't.
No, he didn't.
He sure didn't.
He changed the air current.
Holy cow. I was trying to cover for you, Kian. That was a really bad shot.
Well, nobody's covering Young. He gets posted up and shows great moves. And there's his family. They keep showing him. We keep showing him. Little brother Donovan, they tell us. I thought it was just the little Kevin Young lookalike contest. 22-9. And TCU is called for a bad screen by Duke Edsel. 7:48 to go in the half. This game much different than the one in Fort Worth. Now this from Phillips 66. Welcome back to Lawrence, Kansas. Jeff Withey, one of the nation's best players inside. 22-9 Kansas. Take a look at today's Wendy's Wooden Watch. And Jeff Withey.
If ever there was a kid that was a product of tough love, it is Jeff Withey. I was here the first day he stepped on campus after transferring from Arizona, and I watched him work out, and I thought, holy smokes, he isn't going to survive this. I mean, he was maybe unrealistic expectations, overhyped, and took a tremendous amount of work. And Bill Self has been on him from the day he stepped on this campus. And that goes back to the senior, the emphasis on a fifth-year senior and the maturity and the ability sometimes to separate the way a message is delivered and glean from it the substance of the message. And I'm telling you what, Bill Self has turned him into, if he isn't a lottery pick, well, there are going to be a lot of NBA teams that are upset that they missed on him.
All-time shot blocker in Kansas history, set the all-time NCAA record for block shots in an NCAA tournament last year with 31. Elijah Johnson just hit a 3, and again, that's the best sight so far probably for Kansas fans to try to get Johnson shooting stroke going.
Kevin Young has 2 double-doubles this year. He may have a double-double in the first half. 6 points, 7 rebounds starting this game. That's the kind of move I'm talking about with Withey. You don't have to drop step because you're 7-1. You're 7-1. Extend that arm. Put that release point up there at about 12, 13 feet and go with it.
Particularly today when you're playing against a bunch of 6'8" and 6'7" guys.
Well, and thick body guys. You know, you're not going to drop step and go through Devontae Abron. You're not going to drop step and go through Adric McKinney. But boy, you can sure turn around and take a step and go up over him. Watch Jeff when he steps in, he catches the ball, and instead of powering through him, he goes. Yeah, again, too much contact. He's got a beautiful sky hook. I don't know if you've seen him shoot it where he comes swooping across the lane and he can shoot it left-handed. Boy, I tell you what, I would tell that kid, I want 10 of those a game.
Well, and Reed, I keep going back to that game on February the 6th. It was such a crazy upset. You're wondering, how could that even happen? And they didn't get any of these hardly. Points off turnovers in that game, and another timeout by Trent Johnson. But it was Withey early in that game who was trying to play power ball against these thick inside guys at TCU.
Well, look, here's the package Jeff Withey brings. He blocks a shot down in the paint. He is the first trailer behind Travis Relford as he goes down in transition. Watch this package. He blocks the shot on one end. Look where he is on the court, okay? He's down under the basket. Now look who's the first person down trailing this. That is a special kid. That is special. When you can block a shot on one end under the basket, you're 7-1, and then you're the first person trailing down. Okay, does he get credit for anything down on the offensive end? Absolutely not. Was he responsible for that driving lane? Absolutely. He has put up big numbers all year long. And Oklahoma State, those 17 points, he was 11 for 14 from the free throw line for Bill Self.
That 17 points was his high in Big 12 play this year. The 14 rebounds is season high in any game. And the 4 blocks right at his average. But him being able to run the floor as he did.
Ooh, that was
5 seconds. Duke Edsel had the count. He was snowed in with us in Dallas for 2 days, so he was working on that count actually at the airport. But with Withey running the floor and blocking that shot, that if I'm an NBA scout,
are you kidding me?
I got saliva all over my notepad.
I'm telling you. Great screen.
McLemore with one of the prettiest shots you'll see.
Love the execution on that play. It's called an elevator door. It's a pinch screen where you take a counter flow. You're going away from the double screen. McLemore steps through the middle and like an elevator door that slams shut. Withey sets a great screen.
Tharp, they're going to wave it off. What do they got here? Traveling on Nadir Tharp.
Here's that pinch screen that I'm talking about. A lot of people just call it elevators. Watch McLemore come right through the middle. Elevator door shuts. Look at them come together and put their shoulders together. Both of them get a piece of him. Boy, he did not stand a chance, Nate Butler-Lynn. Great execution.
So far, it's a 12-0 run for Kansas over the last 2 minutes to lead 32-9. Again, TCU and their 6 losses on the road this year in the league. -34, -27, -17, -21, -11, and -18. They actually led Baylor at halftime in Waco.
Jeff Withey went from the right elbow all the way down to the left side to take away a layup by Kian Anderson and then recovered to his man.
Abron has been the bright spot. I'll say this, TCU hustles, and they've hustled all year. The rebound margin is low, but there have been some games where they have hit the glass hard. I saw them against Iowa State. They had 17 offensive rebounds in that game. And 30 defensive rebounds in that game against Kansas.
Adron McKinney had 20 rebounds in a game against Houston. That ties Isaiah Austin as the top rebounding performance by a Big 12 player this year.
Shot clock violation.
Boy, that shot clock violation saved a highlight reel dunk by Kevin Young.
Trent Johnson is excited about the kids he's got coming in. He gets Kavar Shepard, who's a big-time recruit. Tell me about Kavar Shepard.
He's what Trent Johnson needs. He needs kids from the Metroplex. Look at that. Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. And if Trent Johnson's going to rebuild this thing, he's going to do it with those kids.
Michael Williams.
That's what Billy Gillespie was so successful at A&M. Rebuilt that program with kids, especially from the Metroplex, from the Dallas area. There are a lot of players down there.
Williams, a very good guard. They like him a lot. Shepard gets a lot of the accolades, but the guard from San Antonio is really going to help this team. And Trent again has won before. Coach of the Year in 3 separate leagues. Had some great Nevada teams with a couple NBA guys. And there's your hook.
I would turn to an assistant coach and I'd give him a chart. And I'd say, I want you to keep track of it. And I want 10 of those a game. And I would tell him, I'd say, hey, Jeff, you've only done it twice. Because he can turn and go the other way. And the only time his drop step is going to be open is when someone's overplaying that left shoulder looking for that sky hook. Then you can step and turn and drop back over your right.
They got a huge game Monday night at Iowa State. I'm not sure Iowa State has anybody to stop that play. It should have been the league can.
If you're going to mention Iowa State, I'm going to mention Melvin Edgin. Because I love Melvin Edgin.
So strong, man, that guy is.
Man.
One of the strongest guys in the league pound for pound. He was awesome Wednesday night. I had him at Baylor in a road win.
He leads the league in double-doubles at 6'6". All-conference player this year?
Yes, sir. Except it's a rich group. We had that discussion before the game. I don't know where we're going to have to put 6 on there. If you got 6, I got room for him. 7 on the shot clock, foul on TCU. Kansas, as expected this time, rolling the Horned Frogs.
Coming up in the Studio 66 halftime report, Oklahoma State looks really good in Morgantown today. Iowa State still perfect at home this season. And number 2 Miami gets stung on the road in Winston-Salem. All that and a lot more. Let's get back out to Mitch and Reed inside the Fog, guys.
All right, thanks, Doug and Brendan. Here, way different than it was in Fort Worth. Kansas pummeling the Horned Frogs of TCU, the 34-9 margin. Jeff Withey, 8 points in the first half, and you can tell by that look there isn't a lot of tension on the Kansas bench right now. TCU back to the zone. KU's handled it. Ellis has hit one of those 3 shots. They've gone to him 3 times against the zone. And a good save by McKinney. All right, let's talk blogs here. You can log on to Big12sports.com/CTB and check out the Big 12 Network announcer blog covering the baseline. Find out from Brad Sham about how the coaches of the Big 12 have an abundance of experience and knowledge to take the Big 12 to the big dance. You can also go to the archive one. I did a thing on Canadians this week. Have you noticed how many Canadians are now playing basketball in the States? Almost 100 Division I Canadians.
And almost all of them from Ontario, it seems like. I mean, it's unbelievable the hotbed. There's a kid there now in Canada, Mitchell Wiggins' son, maybe the #1 recruit that's still left out there. He may have committed. I don't know that he has.
Think he has yet, but yeah,
everybody's after him. His dad, Mitchell, of course, played at Florida State, had a long NBA career, and kid's a 6'8" guard.
They say that Mike Kabongo, Canadian playing for Texas. Several Canadians in this league. Brady Heslop with Baylor, but almost every time we do a game, this game's an exception, there's at least 1 or 2 Canadians on the floor. And the inventor of the game, who came here to teach and coach, Dr. James Naismith, is a Canadian, and he would like the play by Perry Ellis. He's got 4, and Kansas leading 36-9.
Kian Anderson, not a lot of confidence out here handling the ball with the pressure from Nadir Tharp on him.
Yeah, he's had a rough day.
Yeah, he has.
Getting rougher. And if Kian Anderson doesn't play well, it's going to be really, really hard on the Horned Frogs. Averaging 11 points.
Has yet to score.
Tharp still struggling from 3.
Well, you wonder if the air ball chance haven't gotten inside of Kian Anderson's head a little bit. He's 0 for 6 from the floor and 0 for 4 from behind the line, and toss in two bad turnovers. Has not been a good first half.
Kansas and trailer. TCU keep it. Elijah Johnson was at it this morning early. Shooting and shooting and shooting. Working on shooting. Working on dribble drive shooting. Johnson with 3 points in this game on the 3. That's good news for Kansas fans. Just 31%. 10 for 19 coming into this game field goal wise, but just seems to be fighting confidence.
You know, there's been so much attention focused on Elijah Johnson that he hadn't been scoring that bad. I mean, he's been in double figures 3 out of the last 4 games. He hasn't struggled as much as people are making it out to be. It's those assists to turnovers. You cannot play point guard at the level that Kansas wants to play at with a point guard with a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio.
Green called for the travel, and here's Elijah this morning. While everyone else was having breakfast and eggs, this was what Elijah was doing. Joe Dooley, one of the assistants for Bill Self, he's doing a great job of tutoring Elijah and working on every shot possible for him. It's Joe Dooley, well thought of assistant on this Kansas staff.
Point guard for Kansas is kind of like playing quarterback for the New York Giants. You get a lot of attention, and a lot of experts want to offer you advice on how to play the position.
Well, some thought if Kansas would get to double digits in Fort Worth. The question today is if TCU can get there.
Great post up. Now, Perry's got to finish that. I mean, he did a terrific job of stepping in and sealing the defender and then shied away instead of going up and just dunking it.
TCU's not going to make it to single digits. But Ben McLemore is. 10 first-half points for McLemore. Outscoring the Horned Frogs by himself.
Wow. Ben McLemore looks so much like Michael Jordan on that. It's unbelievable. Holy smokes. What a finish. Goodness.
Same number, just airbrush. MJ in there for McLemore. He's got 10. TCU has 9. Yeah, the rematch is way different here in Allen Fieldhouse. Now let's go to Doug Bell and Brendan Manzer in Studio 66. The 9 points TCU has scored is the lowest in a half by a KU opponent in 17 years. 9th-ranked Kansas smoking the Horned Frogs 38-9. Welcome back to Allen Fieldhouse. Mitch Holtis with you along with Reed Geddes. Wow, way different than the game in Fort Worth. Kansas has been superb.
Now, the 9 points are the lowest a TCU team has scored in over 40 years since they kept statistics going back to the 70s. It was a complete domination, and statistically, everything jumps out at you. But I really think the tone to the first half was set by Kevin Young in the energy with which he started this basketball game.
Let's take a look, though, at some potential finalists for a Capital One Cup Impact Performance of the Week. Ben McLemore has played above the rim.
If that play's not a top 10 of the day, then I want to recount, because that was spectacular. Finished on a flurry, started a little bit slow, finished with 10 points in the first half, 3 assists, had a couple of steals.
He outscored TCU by himself.
Not a single starter for TCU has scored. All 9 of their points coming off of the bench by just 2 players.
And Devontae Abron had 7 of the 9. Anderson fouled. That's Elijah Johnson's second. Kian Anderson, big for this program. You got to find pieces to build with. Abron gives them something to build. We've already seen their recruits. Anderson 5th in steals. He was Mountain West Freshman of the Year last year when TCU was in that conference.
He came into the game averaging 11 points, really struggled to kind of feel like the crowd and the atmosphere got inside Kian Anderson's head a little bit. It's a good start for him, for Trent Johnson in the second half. Get to the free throw line, see something positive happen, actually see the ball go through the net. Or at least half the time.
Anderson 73% at the line normally.
He just kind of, his body language, he just looks a little shell-shocked right now.
TCU, nothing working here. They're at 15 to do something.
There's just too much standing. I mean, they're trying to play a two-man game, and the other three guys are just standing there looking at him.
Abron, right shoulder.
9 points now for Devontae Abron, and Trent Johnson thought maybe he should have gotten an and-one.
He had some big games. He had 11 against Florida when he was an Arkansas Razorback, and he had 16 rebounds against UConn in his freshman year in Fayetteville. McLemore has that one blocked. He has been aggressive in going to the basket today. We all know his three-point shooting prowess, but he's used his athleticism to go to the rim.
And the best free throw shooter in the Big 12 this year at 87%.
Like it could be an all-time Kansas record for a freshman.
As is his scoring average. He'll break Danny Manning's scoring record for a freshman.
Withey.
Devontae Abron had a hold of Jeff Withey's pants, and Jeff jumped, and instead of going for the rebound, he thought he was going to get pantsed. He had to grab his pants, I think, and hold him on. Devontae Abron was holding him down by his britches. Hey, whatever it takes, you know.
And he tips it out. Charles Hill Jr. missing the shot as they're now running two guys. They put Young in double post to post on Abron that time. So a bit of a compliment to the young Horned Frog center. McLemore's fouled.
Watch this box out by Devontae Abron. This is one way to do it. Watch to the left. Look, you turn around, you just grab his shorts and hang on to it, and nobody's going to jump without their shorts. That's pretty good.
You can see the student section, their mouths open going, what are we going to see here?
You know, when you're up 28, there's no reason to jump and leave your shorts on the ground.
McKinney does a good job that time of defending McLemore. And Green has his first points of the game after he had 20 against Kansas in Fort Worth.
And he took 4 field goals in the first half. I just don't remember him even attempting a field goal. He can explode.
And Withey backing up his 17 points against Oklahoma State. He's got 12 this afternoon.
As good as he is at the free throw line, there is no reason that he's not good out to 18, 19 feet.
Another reason the pros wait for him. And the take, Relford, and one.
Travis Relford with a nice look off. He looks over his left shoulder and freezes the defense. Watch as he's coming right at you. Look at him look over his left shoulder. He turns and looks and just freezes the defense. Beautiful basket in transition.
We're going to talk about the Relford brothers later in this half. His brother, the point guard for Alabama, having a superb year. But this guy leads the Big 12 in field goal shooting percentage. Has been a great foul line shooter all year long. But he's so young, so long Reed, the stuff that he does doesn't always get put in the box score.
Well, never has he been better this year than he was Wednesday night against Oklahoma State. Had 18 points. He was 7 of 10 from the floor in that game.
Anderson decides to pop in a three. 45-17. 45-18, I should say. And still waiting for the under 4 second half timeout. That's computer generated there. Kansas is doing whatever they want. It is Academy Awards weekend. When we come back, yes, the Gettysburg Address, our own Academy Awards. Now this from Phillips 66. Welcome to our own version of the Academy Awards. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Reed Geddes.
In honor of Lincoln being nominated, the Gettysburg Address, we will now nominate the best short film.
And do the Harlem Shake.
The best. We got more coming, folks, so I know you're riveted to this.
Did we mention it's supposed to be fun? That may be the best clip I've ever seen.
Was that Evan Manning with the laundry cart? That to me is the most hilarious part of that whole thing.
That's my favorite part is when whoever's in the chicken head. I think that's Ben McLemore in the chicken head. But the way everybody else is just putting on their shoes like there's no big deal.
3.2 million hits on YouTube so far.
I'll tell you what, that is
3.2 million hits.
Aside from how entertaining it is, that is tremendous psychology by Bill Self to not only allow that, but to participate in it.
And it's kind of the way he is. You mentioned about wait a minute. Oh, okay. I thought maybe they stole McLemore's chicken head. 49-18. Not the Harlem Shake, but they're doing everything else. Kansas celebrating its history today and doing it in style. 49-18 is 9th-ranked Kansas rolling here. Travis Relford. Big day so far. Again in double figures with 10 points. But I'm going to talk about his brother, Trevor Relford, the point guard at Alabama, is having a fabulous year. He leads the Crimson Tide in scoring as their point guard, Reed Geddes, at 15 points a game. 2 rebounds, 3 assists per game, one of the best in the SEC.
Trevor had a monster game today. They dropped a tough one in Baton Rouge to LSU in triple overtime. In that game, Trevor had 36 points.
And I saw him work out this summer in Kansas City, and he worked as hard as anybody in Division I at his game. But how about these two guys? And, of course, Travis, first in the Big 12 in field goal shooting percentage. 18 points in that gigantic win in double overtime at Oklahoma State during midweek.
Kansas, the entire basketball game, has just done whatever they want to on the offensive end. Here they swing it from side to side, get that ball. When you can get the ball down to the short corner on the baseline against a zone defense, good things are going to happen. Kevin Young dove. It was a high post dive, and he dove, dragged the center with him, opened up the weak side.
Is it just me, or has Kansas made a distinct attempt to get McLemore at the rim today? Take it on the dribble, attack.
I mean, that's how Bill Self wants him to play. You know, people talk about his shooting and how he reminds you of Ray Allen and just the beautiful, effortless release. What I love about his shot is his shot from 8 feet looks exactly like his shot from 22 feet. The exact same release, same lower body, no extra movement. But when you add in the ability to attack the rim, that suddenly just opens up a whole lot of new scoring opportunities for Ben McLemore.
How much of that is his testimony to his explosive strength? He's added 10 pounds of muscle, but Andrea Withey was talking to me. He's just increased his explosiveness on his shot.
What he is, he's a testimony to perhaps we redshirt all freshmen. Make freshmen ineligible, make them be on campus for a year, acclimate themselves academically and physically. Has that set Ben McLemore back?
Novel concept, my friend. You know what? They introduced how many 100 guys from Kansas passed, and how many of those guys?
There were a lot of guys that weren't eligible.
That ended up being great players and much stronger at the end. But these 3 fifth-year guys for Kansas, you could see the maturity of their strength. And Perry Ellis comes to mind. You know, the guy that was put on the center of the stage right away.
You know, but you get into a bigger philosophical discussion, because then you look at Nerlens Noel and you see that ACL and you go, can you really limit a kid who's physically ready? Can you say, number one, you can't compete in college, but then number two, you can't go to the NBA and earn it because why? Because the NBA needs protection from themselves. That's why that rule's in place. It's not an NCAA rule. It's an NBA general manager, protect ourselves, because a lot of times we screw up. So give us one more year to evaluate kids so we don't make any mistakes. And to me, legally, from a legal perspective, that isn't very sound grounds in order to exclude or preclude a kid from going out and earning a living.
You sound like
Nerlens Noel, Exhibit A.
You sound like an attorney, though.
Well, football, you know, the Latimer kid.
Sure.
You know, you just look at it and you think, you know, if the kid makes a mistake, that's on him and his family. But to legally preclude them from having that opportunity, I got problems with that.
Bill Self and I have talked about this, though. One thing we agree upon, I'd use the college baseball rule. You come in, you got to stay to your junior year.
I had this discussion with a college computer IT professor. He was ranting and raving about how unjust it was. And I said, okay, you have Bill Gates in your computer freshman class. And someone comes up and offers him $1 million. What are you going to tell him? Son, go to work. You know.
I get the sense 16,300 fans and thousands and thousands of others watching this game going, wow, how did that upset happen in Fort Worth? Because Kansas today has obliterated these guys.
You and I laughed. You know, we talked about at halftime, if I'm the TCU kids, I look at each other and I think, you know, what we did in Fort Worth, that was a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal. You walk out here and you see maybe the magnitude that perhaps these TCU kids, you know, you beat a good team and maybe you don't fully appreciate. I know Trent Johnson appreciated the magnitude of that win and what it can do for the program. You kind of wonder if these TCU kids really appreciate it. When they leave Lawrence today, I think they'll have a new appreciation.
Kansas able to clear its bench here a little bit and get some looks for Andrew White III, the highly touted freshman from Chester, Virginia. Well, as the name might suggest, Phillips 66 is the proud sponsor of the Phillips 66 Big 12 Men's Basketball Championship. Both start with Phillips 66 and both stand for performance. Phillips 66, experts in gas since 1927.
Number 25, Chris Searcher.
Nadir Tharp had a huge bucket in that Oklahoma State win on Wednesday. Bad pass, a rare mistake by Relford. Kian Anderson having a decent second half. He's got 8. All in the second half. Ellis pinned his man. Perry Ellis for 6. Chris Zurcher in now for TCU.
Kian Anderson had a little success. He suddenly's got a little more bounce to him. He's out there dribbling and he's shaking and trying to get defenders off balance a little bit.
Abron's been the best player for TCU today with 11. He's got that crab dribble down, doesn't he? He's going to back you down to the rim.
He's got that big derriere to back you down. That's what gets you down there underneath the rim.
Nice game for Devontae Abron.
He's gassed. He's running down the court with his hand up in the air. If I'm Trent Johnson, I look at him and say, I didn't see that.
Now a couple turnovers by Kansas. Trent Johnson, long day for him on the road. It's Kansas in big control.
And from Studio 66, it's Oklahoma hosting Baylor. This is an important game for the Bears. Jelon Hornbeek, one of the freshman guards, gets the loose ball, puts it down, 22-11, Oklahoma early on. Back out to Reed and Mitch.
Yeah, Doug, Oklahoma looking to sweep the Bears. The Bears looked a little lost Wednesday night. I had them against Iowa State. They got to kind of refine themselves.
Yeah, they do. If the season ended today, this is what the matchups would look like at the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championships. The playing on the first day, the Horns and the Red Raiders, West Virginia and TCU. And boy, look at those matchups at the top and at the bottom on the second day. Iowa State and Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma State and Baylor. Be a lot of good matchups and a lot of good games that second and third day.
Right now, 6 of the 10 teams of the Big 12 are in the big dance, according to Joe Lunardi.
Boy, what a difference a half makes. TCU shooting 17% in the first half and shooting 64% here in the second half, really as a result of Kian Anderson putting pressure on the Jayhawk defense.
Kansas playing a lot of combinations here, and this is good for Bill Self. He's got a tough game coming up Monday night in Ames, Iowa, so he gets to play some guys and try to get him some confidence here. Guys like Perry Ellis, trying to get Andrew White some looks. Tharp was called for the foul, his second. Zurcher, that's gigantic. Zurcher's only got 7 points all year, and I'm not sure he scored in Big 12 play.
That is just his second field goal of the year. He is now 2 for 11 for the season.
Young lad from San Antonio.
Good for him.
Trailer. That's a good sign. Pound in the middle and finishing.
Good denial by Traylor up top on the ball reversal.
You know, he sat out last year with McLemore. They became very close. Kian Anderson, that's 11 second half points for the Horned Frog guard. He had 35 in a game against UAB earlier this year. That's the best point performance by any player in the Big 12 this year. All right, let's take a look at our quick stats. It's brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites.
That's his fourth personal foul.
Now that 34% may not look pretty, but considering from whence they came, well, they were 17% at halftime, and TCU doing a nice job of not quitting and giving up, keeping pressure.
And again, that is a testimony to Trent Johnson trying to build this program. Garland Green has got 4 fouls. He had 20 points against Kansas in Fort Worth for Trent Johnson, just 3 this afternoon.
They're down 25 right now, and they were down 25 at halftime. So if you're TCU and you're looking for silver linings, you say, hey, for 11 minutes, we've played one of the top teams in the country on the road, neck and neck.
Ellis with good minutes for Bill Self. Trent Johnson, you know, he's got his own disciples. You got David Carter, a very good coach in Nevada. Mark Fox is at Georgia. He's left an impact in 14 years as a Division I head coach. Good hire by TCU, I think. Rossland trying to snake inside. He had 15 rebounds against Kansas in Fort Worth.
is a challenging matchup for Chris Zurcher, chasing Ben McLemore.
There you go. A rare miss from 3 from McLemore. 6 for 6 in that Iowa State game here, including that banker that took it to overtime. And a Kansas win over the Cyclones. Zurcher needs help.
Kansas is doing such a nice job. So much of the offense, this flex offense, is predicated on a pass, a ball reversal up top. Get the ball on one side, throw it to the top of the key, and Kansas taking away that reversal.
Withey stakes his claim inside. Let's talk about Ben McLemore. Yeah, look at our Denny's value player.
You know, first in Kansas scoring, first in three-point field goal percentage, tied for the lead in steals. Big 12 rankings. Second, 8th, 3rd, 1st. That is one talented freshman.
And at one point thought to be a Big 12 freshman and player of the year. It's happened twice before.
Why do you say at one time?
Is it on now again? We got it on again? You're going to put it on?
Did you take it off?
No. There's just other candidates. Pierre Jackson comes to mind.
Well,
Baylor, leading points and assists.
Marcus Smart.
Absolutely.
Jeff Withey.
It has only happened, though. We're talking about a freshman doing it. Pierre Jackson, not a freshman. Marcus Smart is. Michael Beasley did it in this league at K-State, and so did some guy named Durant.
Yeah, he was kind of good. No, I think Ben McLemore is very much still in that discussion.
Particularly if Kansas can win the league. Abron, and that's what Crossland did in the first meeting. Lingered around the rim and gets his first 2 of the game.
Well, I know TCU is getting crushed. Devontae Abram has been very, very good.
And he's got a 3rd foul. Withey went after it. Devontae Abram gives TCU hope for the future. The young man from the Metroplex from Seagoville. Now this from your friends at Phillips 66. Yes, that is the theme of the day. Revenge. Kansas avenging that loss in Fort Worth, blowing out the Horned Frogs 61-35. Let's take a look at our 6th man of the game, brought to you by Motel 6. He has been the highlight for the Horned Frogs.
Devontae Abrams has had a very good game, and he has from the outset. He's done it in a lot of different spots on the floor. He is 6 for 10 from the floor. He has 13 points. Mix in 8 boards, 2 block shots. He has very much competed here today and held his own. And if he'd had a little bit of help, it might have been a more interesting afternoon for Devontae.
And he has done it mostly against this guy at the foul line, because he's done a lot of his damage against Jeff Withey, who's also had an outstanding game. Withey looking for his 17th point.
The all-time block shot leader in Kansas history and in the Big 12. Broke Chris Mim, the former Texas Longhorns record a couple of games ago. Has 10 double-doubles for the year, including the last 3 games. And look at the difference between the first 2 years and this year.
You know one of the best stats about him, Reed?
What's that?
We talk about all those block shots. He's got twice as many block shots as anybody in the league. He has the fewest number of fouls of any Kansas starter. How many times do you see that where a shot blocker has the fewest fouls?
Well, one of the things he does so well is he blocks shots and he keeps them in play. And so a lot of times his blocks end up almost being like outlet passes to transition baskets.
Will Bill Russell score? Relford attacks, and he's going to the line. Duke Edson's got the call.
You know, I played with one of the greatest shot blockers to ever play, Hakeem Olajuwon. And when Hakeem was young, he used to see how far up in the bleachers he could throw shots. And finally, Coach Lewis, who incidentally is up for the Hall of Fame, and long overdue, went to him and said, "Big fella, you understand, if you keep it in play, we go down and score on the other end." like a light bulb went off, and Hakeem said, "Oh, I understand. I understand." And he was the best. I'm telling you, when my man dribbled past me, as happened often, instead of trying to chase him, I turned around and released almost like for the outlet pass so I could go chase down his block shot.
But what a comfort level for an on-ball defender to know that's standing behind you. These KU guys have that.
Well, especially when you couldn't defend on the ball. Can make up for a lot of mistakes.
Withey almost came out and got that reverse pass. He's done that before this year.
Good pass. How about Devontae Abron? He is getting a double team. They're double teaming him big on big. Kevin Young comes along the baseline to double team him. And Devontae Abron did a nice job of finding the weak side. A nice job of Cannell Crossland of diving to the basket.
A little late on the rotation was Relford, and he gets his third foul. But we can sit here and give him Motel 6, sixth man of the game. But the best compliment he's getting is he's getting double teamed by Kansas post to post.
With Jeff Withey being the primary defender.
And there he is. And to deal with some illness within his family. That's why he was allowed to transfer without setting out a year. Crossland splits a pair at the line. That's an improvement for him. He's just 45% at the line for the year. And again, TCU 344th out of 347 teams in foul shooting. Look at Crossland, who had those 15 rebounds against Kansas in Fort Worth.
Well, was Big 12 Player of the Week after that performance.
That looks like the Perry Ellis of November and December. Double digits. Anderson Charles Hill Jr. off the feed from Anderson.
Charles Hill's an interesting kid. He only played 29 minutes combined the entire non-conference. All games total combined 29 minutes. In Big 12 games, he's averaging 23 minutes per game. What about earning some minutes?
3-second call. Evidently Withey was in there. Joe DeRosa with the call. See that bet every month. 67-39 Kansas. 5:46 to go.
Maybe the quietest I've ever heard a Kansas crowd here in the second half.
Well, they're just waiting for a McLemore dunk again. Or a three.
Abron had hold this time of Withey's jersey. He does that. He turns around and grabs guys. I don't think I've ever seen that.
And Abron runs the floor. He's nearing a career high. That's 15 for Devontae Abron. His high in Big 12 play is high for the season, 17 against Southern Utah.
Listen, we bragged on Jeff Withey in the first half, blocking a shot under the basket and then running the floor. That time, Devontae Abron playing post defense on Withey over here on the right block and gets out and gets behind everybody for the transition basket.
Ellis has 12. Again, his career high was the first game he had as a Jayhawk. But he had 15 against SEMO, Southeast Missouri State. This will be out of bounds to TCU. As Withey checks to see if he has all of his clothing.
There are a lot of guys down there on the Kansas bench that are looking up at the coach with big eyes saying,
my turn?
My turn? Like, hey, Dad. How about me?
There's Tyler Self. This is the cradle of coaches' sons at the end of this bench because Evan Manning's down there. His dad, of course, Danny Manning, the head coach at Tulsa now, and then Norm Roberts' son, Nico's down there too. We'll see him. We're headed that way.
Hey, if I'm those guys, I need to talk to them about how you get into a game. You take your jacket off and you move your chair 4 inches up in front of everybody else.
Oh.
So that when you look down the line, the first thing coach sees is you leaning up, ready to go.
This just in, Mom wants me into the game. You could try that tactic too. 69-41 Kansas at the end of 4 timeout.
Because the sofa's waiting, Dad.
Today's Big 12 Network game has been brought to you by Phillips 66. Experts in gas since 1927. By the Capital One Cash Rewards Card with a 50% annual bonus. What's in your wallet? By USAA, proudly serving the financial needs of the military, veterans, and their families. By the new Buick Enclave, it's smart, made beautiful. And by Whataburger, proud to serve it hot and fresh 24 hours a day. No mystery in this game from the very beginning. Kansas has been in control.
Kansas has not lost 2 regular season games to the same team since 2002.
True, yeah.
Iowa State did that. Actually, Iowa State has done it twice in the history of the Big 12, and Nebraska has done it once.
At the line, shooting is 1.
Oklahoma State thought they were going to do it, but they had that double overtime loss in Stillwater.
Iowa State thought that they might have a chance to do it until Ben McLemore banked in a 3-pointer. Well, that's going to be a great rematch in Ames.
Monday night. How close is Iowa State? You think about that game. Marcus Smart banks in a foul line jumper, like 15 feet straight on bank. Then they lose in overtime, double overtime at Texas. Iowa State is a whisker for potentially winning the league. Instead, they're trying to build a resume to make the big show.
Will Clyburn all conference?
Man, how many going to put on?
I get 8.
I respect. I'm going to go with Edgem, not Clyburn. But like his game.
I'm going to take a player of the year. I'm going to take a newcomer of the year. And I'm going to take a freshman of the year. And then I get 5 more spots for first team.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got Marcus Smart as freshman of the year. I got Pierre Jackson as player of the year.
Okay, open up that can of worms.
Newcomer, I'm going to give that to Will Clyburn. I'm not in by it. That's a tough call. Then that gives me 5 more spots. Right? So then I can get Edgem on it.
You're just making this up as you go along.
No, this is, yeah, I am.
The player of the year, Pierre Jackson, and watching him again Wednesday night. Look, he leads the league in points and assists. That has not happened in a BCS league, Power 6 lead, since Jason Terry in 1998-99 with Arizona.
And it's not particularly close, you know, in the scoring or in the assists. So, you know, people in Manhattan will be mad and say, how about Rodney Magruder? People in Stillwater will say, come on, are you kidding me? Marcus Smart's player of the year. People here in Kansas will say, no, Ben McLemore's player of the year. You know, Baylor has been somewhat of had a disappointing season. They've got a big win today. When I say disappointing, based upon preseason expectations and projections, but Pierre Jackson is player of the year.
McLemore, 14 points today. He had 10 of those in the first half when he outscored the entire TCU team 10-9. And he gets ready for the rematch against Iowa State Monday. Rito Adams with the steal. Tomorrow's the Daytona 500. We have a wreck. We're under caution as Tharp goes down hard.
All right, I got a tougher one for you than player of the year.
Okay. The tweets are just blowing up my phone here, so.
Coach of the year.
Ooh. Well, this guy's done a terrific job.
Yeah, he has.
And you underestimate the fact.
Well, he gets penalized because his team's really good and you expect them to be good, and they are good. And so you say, well, coach of the year, doesn't that always go to some coach who takes a team that's not expected and overachieves? Here's my pick. Bruce Weber.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, they may not end up winning it, but where they were picked to begin the year in all of the uncertainties of Bruce Weber coming in, inheriting, you know, Frank Martin's kids, not knowing exactly what to expect, and where they are, the fact that they're 10-3 and sitting up there at the top, tied with the Jayhawks, by far exceeds any expectations I think that anyone realistically had for the Wildcats.
Well, here's the thing. That 21 win total gets your attention. But what also gets your attention is the fact that those 5 losses, 2 to Kansas, Gonzaga, Michigan, and at Iowa State. That's it. That's all their losses.
And I'm not.
I mean, you're looking at a great seed for that team.
I'm not diminishing the pieces. But let me just say something. Bruce Weber has done an excellent job maximizing the skill sets. You know, he's got Rodney McGruder's as good as anybody. Angel Rodriguez playing as well as anybody. But he continues with his offense to put those kids into positions where they can be successful.
Fort Worth native Justin Wesley is in the game for Kansas, and he has fouled Devontae Abron. Bill Self up by 30 and still concerned. 2:31 to go here in the game.
Travis Ford is also in that discussion for Coach of the Year and the job he has done. People expected them to be good. And let me give you 2 other names. Fred Hoiberg is in that mix, and maybe one of my biggest favorites this year for that award might be Lon Kruger. Well, that's a team that was picked to finish 7th, and he has done a terrific job with that basketball team.
Devontae Abron now has his career high with 18 points. But let's take a look at our Geico player of the game, and it is one of the great seniors here at Kansas, Jeff Withey.
He has been outstanding, done a nice job getting out, setting screens. He's made good decisions in the post. 18 points, 3 block shots for Jeff Withey.
And that's on the heels of his 17-point, 14-rebound game at Stillwater on Wednesday night in that double overtime victory. Now, Kansas trying to win a 9th straight conference title. When you look at this page, what do you see?
I see a very favorable schedule after Monday.
And that is at Baylor on March the 9th. So they go on the road to Iowa State Monday. Then home games, Bob Huggins comes in here on March the 2nd. Tech coming here March the 4th. And then that is at Baylor. That's in Waco on March the 9th. And Jeff Withey
at the line shooting 2 and 1.
Putting together back-to-back 2 monster games. Andrew White. He got off to a great start as well. He had 15 points in that Belmont game here in December. Highly recruited out of Chester, Virginia. The number 48 recruit overall in last year's class.
Interesting to see Rio Adams getting a little playing time right now. 6'3" freshman out of Seattle, Washington, has been very vocal with his frustrations in the Twitterverse. He needs one of those phones that Herm Edwards always talks about that has a button that says "Don't send." That's a good call. The official was standing out of bounds. If the official is inbounds, he's part of the court. The ball can reflect off of him and still be in play. But when the ball hit the official, he looked down at his feet to see that he was standing out of bounds.
And here we go. The cradle of coaches' sons start to unload the bench with 2:03 to go. Evan Manning coming into the game. His father, Danny, the 1988 National Championship team, was honored at halftime. Danny, of course, has other things on his mind. His 14-12 Golden Hurricane at Tulsa, 6-6 in Conference USA, playing tonight.
Well, Mrs.
Tyler Self.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Self made me want Tyler, and now the fans do as well, chanting, "We want Tyler."
Here's the aforementioned Rio Adams. TCU is clearing the bench. In fact, they have the golf coach's son in the game now, Thomas Monagle. He's going to the line.
Dad was a longtime assistant coach at TCU.
And here comes Tyler Self, so everybody now is placated. Nico Roberts is in. All the coaches' sons are in the game. Here's a look at Nico. Played at St. Anthony's for the legendary Bob Hurley. 150 Division I players out of that school. McKinney, no points until now.
Tyler Self checks in for the game.
Tyler played at Free State High School here in Lawrence, along with Evan Manning. Which one of these guys is going to score first? They got 96 seconds to do it. Kansas, by the way, defensively has been remarkable. 16. They're going to be 17 now. They're 27 games. They're going to hold opponents to 60 points or less. 8 of the last 12 conference games, Reed. Opponents will be under 60 playing Kansas.
Well, the #1 field goal percentage defensive team in the country. They're 3rd in the country in block shots. Those numbers will win you some basketball games in March.
That is the player from Turkey, Kamal Dincer, freshman. They're starting the rock chalk chant. They could have started that in the first half at about the under 12 timeout. They just would have been worn out by then.
Tried to help these guys with how to get checked into the game sooner.
Yep.
I want to help them out a little bit when you check into the game. Son, come in locked and loaded. I'm not interested in running the offense and running sets.
Even when your dad's coach?
Put that ball in your hand and let it fly.
You didn't play for your dad, though, did you?
Yeah, well, see, that's how you come in a game.
Well, much different. We thought this was the way it was going to be. TCU, though, to your point, this makes you appreciate what they got done in Fort Worth.
Yes, it does.
Kansas smokes TCU this afternoon.
Yeah, and this sets up a terrific Monday night, a big Monday for Bill Self and his Jayhawks in Ames, Iowa.
Final score, Kansas all day long leading this one, 74-48. With the victory, now 23-4, 11-3 in the league. They get ready to go to Iowa State on Monday. Now let's go to the studio. Here's Doug Bell and Brendan Manzer.